Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen, to another session of Open Mic. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have someone who's no stranger to the political arena, stemming back a long, long time from his dad, who was in office up in the 8th District. Mr. Walters is here to join us today. He has braved the stage and decided to come on in and share his views and his ideas, his vision for the 8th District. Of course, you know, he's up against a giant. So Mr. Walters believes that he has a sound plan, good ideas, innovation, and creativity to help move the district forward. He's also running, as you guys might know, with the Virgin Islands Party. So he's also up with giants himself. I mean, we have leaders like Mr. Julian Fraser and others on the team. So he's part of that team. So I want to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Mr. Walters.
Well, thank you, Sam. It's indeed a pleasure to be here this morning and say good day to all the voters of the 8th District, to all the folks in the BVI that are listening to this broadcast this morning. Good evening. Good day.
Good. Welcome I'm glad to have you. You know, we've had so far a few others, brave souls that came in and decided to talk one-on-one with the people.
Right.
The people are asking to, they don't want to hear the fancy talk anymore. They want to know one-on-one. This is a great opportunity for people like yourself who's been drowned out by all the noise and the big billboards and the amount of radio ads. This is your opportunity to put something on the table. Let's first start by saying, straight off the bat, why are you running?
Well, I'm running because, you know, I have a vision for the 8th District. I have lived in this community for quite a long time. I have, you know, looked at the politics in the community. I've looked at the sort of the lack of development, you know, particularly in the 8th District. You know, looking at the 8th District, you realize that the 8th District, the communities of Greenland, East End, and the Hope, they are primarily residential communities, and that have not seen much economic development. And I feel that economic development is one of the most important things, you know, that a government, you know, can do, you know, for the people. Because, you know, once you have a job, you know, you can take care of yourself, you can start a family, and all of those things. And so once you have economic development, it then takes care of all of the social, you know, issues.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about your economic development plan. So we'll elaborate a little bit on that. But first tell me, how comfortable are you in the race? Obviously you had to consider this very, very strongly because I think you're probably family to the incumbent.
Yes.
And he seems to have a very strong base, especially from the Major Bay area up. Seems like a lot of folks there support his effort. He has done some things stemming from the last government, moving forward to his government. How would you combat some of those things that he has done? Have you seen any plans yet on the table that he has put forward to help move the rest of the district forward?
Well, certainly there have been some things that have been done in the 8th District. But, you know, what I say to the people is this is really about change. And I would like to say that, I mean, Michael Manley of Jamaica, he wrote a book called The Politics of Change. And he said that, you know, there are those politicians, for instance, people that are into politics because they just want basically, you know, power. They're into it for the power. He talks about those that are into politics because they would like just to make some minor sort of adjustments, you know, within the society. And then is the third type of politician, and they are basically interested in fundamental change. And so to be able to understand the candidacy of myself, it is really about fundamental change. And you talk about the things that the incumbent, has done in the 8th district. But for the most part, I think those things are just sort of minor sort of adjustment. There's another saying that goes that, we can have economic growth, but not necessarily development. We can have adjustment, but not necessarily structural change. And, we can have diversification, but not transformation in the society. So to understand what I feel I'm bringing to the table, it's about understanding those sort of differences. And so to me, what has happened and what we've been accustomed to, we have been getting growth. We've had some growth in the country and even in the 8 districts, some, but we haven't really been getting development, because it's growth for who, and who has been benefiting. So far, it's basically the community of East End, for instance, in terms of has been benefiting most for what has been done. But what about the community of Greenland? What about the community, of the Hope? So is that sort of difference is a more kind of balance where not just a few, sort of persons in the community or few areas are going to benefit from what is being done. But my intention certainly is to make sure that we have a more sort of balanced development where more persons, can benefit from the economic activity in the community. That is one aspect of what I think we can expect if or when I am elected as the next representative. That is one of the things which we can definitely expect. So for all the persons where this is a very important, that recognize that this is an issue that we need to sort of deal with, to have a sort of better community that can benefit more persons, these are the type of persons which I'm asking you to vote for me come June 8th.
Let me ask you this then, just to add a little bit to what you're saying and maybe better understand. Mm-hmm. So you're saying basically when there's work being done in the district, rather than having maybe just one or two person out of 15 continuously control that work, you would like to see a more transparent, more open, more opportunist type system in place so others can also benefit from that? Or are you saying that, explain exactly how does that work? What plans specifically you would put in place to combat some of that?
Yeah, well, without question, I think everyone that lives, most persons that live in the community recognize that, that is what is happening. It's like you tend to have a political boss, and everything is being channeled through that political boss. And it's like you have to be a supporter of the present administration, more or less, to be included in what is done. And where it is, I certainly understand, and we have to be realistic, that politics is, in a sense, what it is, that you have supporters, and if you have supporters that support you in office, that you have to support the supporters as well. But my point is that it doesn't have to be done, to the extent that it is done. It is a bit overboard.
Okay.
And that is the difference. That is the difference, okay, that I want, for people to understand, that it is a bit overboard. So it is really about, establishing more of a balance, right? And a lot of the ways and things that are being done and how they're being done, within the community. And that is the difference that I need for the voters to understand what my candidacy is about. It's about establishing more of a balance.
Great,
Okay.
great. All right. Well, I like your approach. I sometimes feel the same way, that not enough distribution, not enough balance, maybe some rotation. If you have a number of persons or businesses that can benefit from opportunities, create some sort of a rotation, and that way everybody benefits in that. In a short sense, give me maybe a small comprehensive development plan where you believe you can bring the entire district, keeping in mind that the district includes Beef Island, all the way down to East End, Paramtown. On the right side of the road, going all the way up to the Hope, Lambert Beach, you have a major hotel there. We have a number of young people, sometimes seems to be just lost. Give me a plan that would include people sitting on the side, people who are already in business, your supporters, your non-supporters, and moving the district forward.
Yeah. Okay. As I've just said, Sam, what the voters of the district can expect from me is a more balanced, a more fair, a more comprehensive approach to the development of the community. I've just said, whereas politics, we understand, is part of the business, I have said and I've continued to say it cannot be all about politics. Okay, so I recognize the different issues, the different groups in the community. I recognize the young brothers and stuff on the street corners and the unemployment problem. And I have spoken to many of them. The young brothers there at in Paramtown by Carvin's Bar, and I have said to them, listen, I would like to establish a relationship with you all. I would like to be able to sit down and let us reason together. If I am elected, let us sit down, let me hear what it is, your issues and your problems are. The same thing, the other day I was speaking with 4 young brothers again up in Bellevue. And it seems to me, and they're talking about the present government and what the present government has done, and they are willing to bet me, who's going to win this election. And I said, listen, guys, what is happening is we just cannot continue to be, it's a matter of whether or not are we going to continue to be given a fish, or is it about teaching you how to fish? I do feel that the way the system works now is about giving people a fish, And my thing is that we need to evolve to the situation of teaching persons how to fish. And without any doubt, this is what I'm saying, to all of the young brothers there on the street corners, that I am interested in basically showing you how to fish. So once you learn how to fish, then you don't have to continue to depend on government all the time,
Yeah.
And even we look at the different in terms of creating work for petty contracts and that sort of thing. And what I am going to say is, I think we need like a system where, yes, the sort of unemployed youngsters will be given an opportunity to do work in the petty contract system. But in addition to that, once they have, it has to be a sort of a training mechanism that is connected to that, so that when they have done certain types of work, which as a government, and I feel that we have to assist, in the training, but then now they have to be trained to a certain point, so that when the private developers come in, when the All Nut Bay people come in, that the same experience that the young brothers and so have gotten in government contracts, they must now be able to take that experience and then now move into the job opportunities that's going to be created, in All Nut Bay or in Mosquito Island and all that. We just cannot continue, to depend on government alone.
I think you're absolutely right. There is a huge difference between getting the fish and building and learning how to fish so you can feed yourself. But let's be real about that for a minute. We know history in the BVI, and it goes back a long, long way. I remember 3.5 years ago, I heard people saying, even to me on the street, that too many people are dependent on government. This is when there was a slowdown and money being infused into the economy by the current administration. People were saying, people need to go out and do things for themselves, and now we see millions of dollars being borrowed. We see hundreds of petty contracts being given out. We see people who didn't have work, were dependent on government all the time, are now doing something, whatever it is, whether it's building a wall, building the things on the side of the road, and so forth. So the government, in a way, needs that system. The people themselves has depended on it for so long, it's hard to get rid of it. But your plan, as far as I understand, and as far as the people watching understand, is to help move people to a self-sufficient mechanism. But specifically, in the district, give me 2 ideas or 2 things that you think is lacking, that you could come to the people tomorrow and say, you know what, I believe if I have a government that will support my ideas, I could bring this to the table and I could bring this to the table. Give me 2 good ideas that you think you could bring to the table right now, whether it's development of a waterfront area, whether it's enhancing our schools and maybe doing more pre-child care assessment, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of our youths to maybe move them from that dependency focus. Give me 2 ideas that you can bring to the table.
I mean, in terms of projects specific, well, my plan, it calls for the overall, first it calls for like an overall vision of the development of the 8th district. And what I see is that in a period of maybe 16 years, I see the East End transforming the East End, the 8th district community into a community more like, say, Red Hook, in St. Thomas, that has a sort of marine, industry. And when I look at even like, say, like St. Martin in the Mahobe area of the airport, this is what I see. So in order to do that, we're going to have to start somewhere. And in order to do that, for instance, the development of the road network, for instance, is one thing that needs to be done. And so that, for instance, would provide sort of work for the sort of the unemployed, where we can really start to begin with the construction of the drains, the widening of the road, even looking at the East End, sort of like waterfront development project. And look in terms of how that needs to be done. I feel that the first thing that basically can be done there is like the construction of the bypass, and then we have the idea of a town center that sort of can be developed. If we look at areas like the Long Swamp area, say, for instance. I think that we have to look at sort of cleaning up the community, the issue of derelict vehicles. I think we need to look at the area, the situation of the garbage bin, sort of problem. And I mean, these are things which, in terms of the garbage bin problem, I don't see, for instance, that the present representative has actually, done anything, with this. It's not a big, sort of project, but it is important. If we talk about economic activity within the district, we have to focus on bringing businesses into the district.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's shift gears just for a minute. Obviously, your term was cut short, your opportunity to go out and sell yourself more, because it sounds like you have some strong approach, coming from an engineering development background, how do you feel, in a nutshell, about this whole snap election? You know, the premier came out and said, based on the European system, or the United Kingdom Westminster system, he was within his right. It might be within his right, but research has shown that the UK themselves, since 2010, moving forward to 2011 and now 2015, have also changed their system. They now have a set date, the first week in May of every 5 years. So are we being misled? Did you have enough time? How do you feel about the whole snap election thing?
I mean, I feel it, again, it's really all about politics. It's all about, you know, political gamesmanship. And this is something that I say all the time, that it just can't be all about politics all the time. And certainly it is not a good thing. It hasn't given the voters an opportunity, you know, to really for debate, the candidates to really to discuss, you know, issues, and for the voters to really to understand, you know, what the issues are, because the ruling party is telling you, basically, as far as they're concerned, is no there aren't any other issues. It's like another done deal. We've already done this, and you don't need to think about anything else. So they even haven't given you a chance to even to think about anything else, and that is not right. So these are the kind of things that we have to stand up for, you know, against. It's just not right.
Well, moving forward,
We should not accept these kind of things.
Definitely, definitely. I think we have about maybe 5 or 10 minutes left. I just want to get your take on bouncing back a little bit. In office, you know, a lot of times we find strong candidates that have very strong views. You're in a system now where sometimes the culture of the system doesn't really permit you to be as expressive as you are now while you're in part of the party. You have ideas. You would like to move those ideas forward. Let's assume the Virgin Islands Party government, Virgin Islands Party wins the government. You're part of that team. How do you see yourself being able to move some of your initiative forward? Are you part of a team that will sit down and listen? Or would you, like some of the backbenchers and some of the folks right now, sitting back and continually to beg for you know, money and so forth?
Yeah. Well, that is definitely a consideration. But for that, which I have said is, you know, it's not about. I mean, when you really think about politics and representation, as representatives, we answer to or are accountable to a constituency, right? And so if the constituency has certain demands and certain things that the constituency wants done, and if the constituency is organized enough and they are unified enough, right, that is how things are done. So it's not about, for instance, the particular you know, representative or the, you know, it's about the constituency. And once the constituency are unified enough in what they want, I would like for the 8th district to be clear with me and to be clear with the Virgin Islands Party as to what it is that we really are sending Mcloyd Walters to the House of Assembly to do for us. And I want the voters to be clear about that, right? But I feel that sometimes the problem is, I'll let you know, is that the voters are not clear. It's too much kind of, you know, division among the constituency. But the clearer that the constituency can be in terms of what it is, what are our priorities. And this is what I basically say, that I would like to have that conversation when elected, have that conversation with the members of the district to understand what our priorities are. I know everybody have a lot of different ideas, but we need to focus and prioritize the ideas. What is it that the majority, you know, basically support? You know, because we're not going to be able to do everything. We have to do those things which are, you know, sort of a priority.
All right, good thing. All right, these are yes and no question and answer. We got about 5 minutes left.
Okay, all right.
Would you support the development of the airport? It's in your district. People are asking for it. They talk about national security. They talk about being able to control our own destiny. Would you support it?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I said that that bringing people into the area and into the country, that's the only way we're going to get the economy to grow.
Good,
so absolutely.
Great.
Yes.
Beef Island, Long Bay Beach. There's been talk about from the now Minister for Natural Resources years now, talking about putting Beef Island into a national park conserve type
Yes.
measure. Do you support that? If yes, why? Or would you support something more where you can have more protection for the beach and have some sort of small development, engaging and allowing other folks to be a part of the development and the growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I recognize the need for conservation. That is certainly part of it. But I think right now it is too much on the side of conservation, and it doesn't allow you know, participation, you know, by vendors. And I do feel that there is a way to still to conserve what needs to be conserved, but to allow, you know, some economic activities that can benefit, you know, the persons of the district. And I do have a plan for that. And certainly, that is something that I would definitely support.
Well, like I said earlier, I know you have a background in what? Your background is in development, engineering, architecture.
Yes, my background is in development, you know, engineering, development, and
Yes.
how to go. I mean, this is basically one of the strengths, you know, that I bring to this, you know, particular political field.
Okay.
And not only that, but you know, economics and all of those type of issues.
Yeah.
Because, you know, something I've studied, and how to get development, how to get government working for the people.
That's right.
That is what I am interested in focusing on, and that is what I want the people to know. And if that is what we are really interested in, I am the man, you know, for this, for your vote come June 8th.
That's what I want to hear. All right. Well, I mean, that's important, because if you have the background, you're bringing the knowledge and the experience. I mean, I know, I believe that you worked for government and public works at one point.
Yes.
So you bring in that wealth of experience to the table. And being a part of a party, I think their mantra is to foster and develop from the ground up and more inclusive. So you should fit in well with that. Last question. Money. Obviously, when you have a lot of ideas, but money is missing. The district, I understand, only gets maybe $120,000. Would you fight hard to increase district money maybe to $500,000, maybe $1 million a year? If you are fortunate to get in, but you're not a minister, you have now your backbencher, you have now your district to focus on. You need money, you have plans, but how do you get things done without money? Would you fight for more money?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think the system right now is a system where we don't necessarily do things, you know, based on needs. I believe that there's a lot of need within the 8th district. I believe that the 8th district has a lot to contribute, you know, to the economic development of the BVI as a whole. And I think that needs to be recognized, and the resources needs to be put to the development, you know, of the 8th district.
Good.
Because we have a lot of potential there.
How
we
much
look at
money?
Trellis Bay, we look at Paraquita Bay, and all of those areas that you know, that can be developed.
How much money do you think would be appropriate for a district, and not having to be dependent so much on government, central government? What would be an appropriate number for you?
On an annual basis?
Yes.
Well, it's I mean, it can be, I know it's a lot more than it is now, You look at, I think we're going to have like a development program that looks at the longer term development. So we have to have a program that this is what we want to do in the longer term, and we have a program to be able to fund that. We also have the maintenance, aspect of it. So we have to look at how do we improve our maintenance. So we have to have a budget for that. And then we have, the budget for our sort of social, sort of programs for the elderly, programs for the youth, and those type of things.
Well, give me a ballpark figure. What you think would be an appropriate amount for a district rep to be able to have without having to constantly go into government? National project is one thing, but we're talking about constituent money that's readily available so you can do the things that are necessary.
Well, I understand it's like maybe 120 or something thousand, but I would think like no less than 500,000.
Absolutely.
No less than that.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Brother Walters, we are at that point. Take 2 minutes. Ask the voters. I'm asking them, why would they want to select you over the incumbent? Fancy talkers, big billboards, a lot of noise. This is your opportunity to have an impact. Why would anybody want to vote for you versus the next guy?
Well, I mean, vote for Mcloyd Walters because of my background, because of the experience, that I bring to the table. And I think if the voters really, sort of sit down and examine, the two candidates and, the sort of level of sort of experience that we have and the background, and the interest. I'm not saying that I wouldn't talk about commitment. I think we're all committed, to our people. But we have to go beyond just commitment and all that sort of thing, but really look at the background in terms of what it is that we as candidates sort of bring to the table. Look at our ideas. And if the voters really sit down and look at those, compare the two candidates, I am sure that the voters would come to the conclusion that Mcloyd Walters on June 8th, that I am your man, your next representative for the 8th District going forward.
All right, absolutely, absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are tuning in to Open Mic. We are inviting all the candidates, all of the candidates from all sides, left, right, in the center, to come and share their personal views. So if you know you have one who's willing and ready to come on, they can always contact me. In the future, we'll have more discussions on the country, development, ideas, moving us together forward. So thanks again, Mr. Walters, for coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching.